Everybody, happy Wednesday. Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late jumping on here with you today, but I am so excited about today's class that we are going to be going through today. We just got back from Jeep Beach. Woohoo, so much fun. Had an amazing time. But while we were down there, some things really came up that I feel like are really important. I'm going to call them hashtag hard truth bombs today that I felt were so important for us to go through and talk about together. Um, you know, so many times I want to be bringing forward information to you, to help with your education, so that you are as informed as possible. So today's going to be a little controversial because, again, I'm going to be dropping some hashtag hard truth bombs for you today. But these are things I feel like are so important to help you to understand, to be educated, to really have a great understanding of everything in the Jeep industry, Jeep community, in the off road world. So, we're going to jump in and get started right away, again, with some hashtag hard truth bombs today, because I felt like it was important and I wanted to make sure to bring this forward to you. So, let me start with saying I hope you are having a fantastic Wednesday. It is the first week of May. As you're jumping on here, let me know where you are watching from. What state are you in? That always helps me as we are putting together more and more in person live educational events across the country. So let me know where you're watching from. Hello, Cami. Hello, Kendra. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Cami's in Ohio. I love it. All right. So I'm going to just jump in and get started. Today is going to be a little more informal. I'm not going to be going through slides and education and training today. Today, I'm just going to be sharing with you what I feel is some important things to address and bring up after being at Jeep Beach. Oh my goodness, we got Northern Maine, we have Georgia, we have Illinois, we have Florida, we have Tennessee, back to Florida next week. Woohoo, Cindy, I love it. All right. Oh, Washington. I love seeing Washington State in the house. Woo-hoo-hoo. As you can see, I repositioned myself a little bit today. So my YJ is up a little bit higher behind me, but you can see the tires in some of the square headlights. So I will be adjusting that for our next one. We got Cincinnati, Ohio. Just figured out the live stuff. Oh, I'm so glad to see you, Kelly. I love it. Woohoo. All right. So just in case, I know we have some new ladies with us. I'm so excited. So in case you are new here, I am Kristen DeLibra from LadyJeepers.com. I'm going to be your hashtag hard truth bomb dropper today as we are going through what I want to out. But in case you're not familiar with LadyJeepers.com, I help Lady Jeepers, women who own Jeeps, to safely. That is the big thing here. They call me Safety Patrol. It's not a joke. I'm all about safety for you, safety for your Jeep. So I help Lady Jeepers, women who own Jeeps, to safely enjoy their Jeeps on the trail, as well as customize and design their Jeeps so that they can confidently create a life of adventure without fear, because that is what this is all about. Some things really came up for me. As ladies, we got our Jeeps for maybe some different reasons. Maybe it was the freedom, the adventure, the experience, the life changes we were looking for. Maybe it was a specific point in our life. Maybe it was reconnecting to us, wanting to feel youthful again. Get out there, have adventures, feel the freedom, all those things. So I know for me, protecting my daily driver is so important, but we can't let that hinder the adventure, the freedom, and the memories, the moments, the life, the self confidence, everything that we get to create from behind the wheel. So, welcome if you are new. I'm going to jump in and get started. There are a couple things that really came up that I wanted to share with you. I'll tell a quick story. So, one of my Francis, who's actually working in the other room, listening and laughing, was with us at Jeep Beach, and she's new to Jeep. She's new to the Jeep world, the off-road community, and some great things came up while we were at Jeep Beach. There are so many different builds and options and parts and layouts. And like you would see, different businesses had different Jeeps, different clubs had different Jeeps. Depending on where you were in the country, they were different. And a great comment came up as we were walking around. I got to sneak away from the vendor booth for maybe a couple hours Saturday morning and get to go around and meet with some of our amazing supporters who were there set up and get to meet some new ones, which was amazing. But as we were walking around, for someone who is new in the Jeep world, maybe who is just starting out, so just got their Jeep, went to Jeep Beach, there's all these vendors, all these parts, all these pieces, all these options available. You start to walk around and see how the different companies had their Jeeps built. There were some fantastically amazing Jeep road purposes. Axle swaps and, definitely upgraded parts and pieces and suspension. And you saw coilovers and, Jeeps kind of like this one that were designed specifically to take off road. So like, this is my daily driver anymore. My daily driver is still my purple JKU, but I trail ride her a lot. But the biggest thing that came up, and the reason I'm sharing this story is we were walking through and we kind of got to a row and there were a lot of beautifully built Jeeps, beautiful, with big wheels on there. And, we were walking through and a great question came up. And the question that was asked was, I don't understand like the big wheels. When, they just look so different. Like, how does that compare to, like, I have 17-inch wheels on my YJ and my JKU. So that was such a great hit home question that came up because let's be real here. Here's some hashtag hard truth bombs. When you are at a big event like that with vendors and, their builds and so much stuff, they want you to buy their parts. They want you to buy what they're selling. Nothing wrong with that, right? That's part of the world, how everything goes. That's what everyone is there for. But my question, hashtag hard truth bomb drop here is, how honest were some of the answers that people were getting? So I'm going to share with you some honest answers because I feel like as you are looking, let's get bigger tires. Please don't lynch me. I'm not going to lynch you because here's the thing. We get to build our Jeeps for how we love them, the purpose we want them built for, right? But what I want to make sure is that you have the knowledge and understanding that when you start to financially put a commitment and an investment and an upgrade your Jeep, I want to make sure that you understand what that means. Because what I don't want to happen, and long conversation went on from this. And, I was like, we've had some ladies show up at our Lady Jeepers events with the bigger wheels, on like 35-inch tires. If you love that and that is what you want, that is awesome. But I want you to understand what that means. So how does that compare if you want to build your daily driver? Let's be honest, it doesn't matter if it's your daily driver or your off-road vehicle. As soon as you start to get bigger wheels, your option for tire choices is going to change. There are a lot more tire choices available for you on a 7-inch wheel than there is on a 20-inch wheel. And that's just, unfortunately, right now, the reality of it. So you will limit yourself on your tire choice as you go to bigger wheels. Something to think about. If you know you want to trail ride your Jeep, if you go to a bigger wheel, that is a bigger wheel surface that could take damage. Rock rash is something that's real. If you're going to be trail riding somewhere where there's, big rocks and boulders and things like that, I'm not saying you're going to damage your wheels or ruin them, but with a bigger wheel, you have a higher probability and risk of having more rock rash or, damage to that wheel because it is so much bigger. Also, we're going to talk about a little bit. If you are going trail riding, when you have the bigger wheel, you're not able to air your tire down quite as much because you don't have as much sidewall that is available to you on that bigger wheel. So ultimately, I just want everyone to understand Your choice is your choice. There's no right, there's no wrong. I just want to make sure you're informed and understand so that if you were walking through and were like, oh man, look at those big wheels. They're gorgeous. They're beautiful. That's what I want on my Jeep. Nothing wrong with that. But what I don't want to happen is you to put them on your Jeep and then go out trail riding and be like, ooh, maybe this was not the best choice for me. So sometimes it's about look, sometimes it's about functionality. So when we're talking about a bigger wheel, just know, are you going to be trail riding? Are you going to be doing easy trails, harder trails? Do you want more tire choice options? Do you want to be able to air down more? Those are things that you have to just keep in mind and be aware of. So this is not picking on anyone by any means, because I am the biggest firm believer your Jeep is your build and you have to love it. Make the choices that you like, that you love. Make sure it is set up for you because it's yours ultimately. But what I want to make sure is that you're educated and understand what those significant differences could mean for you before you start to put some money in different vehicles and different parts and different pieces and things like that. So I wanted to make sure we talked about that a little bit today. Another thing that I want to talk about is when we are talking about tire choice itself, that is something that, again, is a personal preference. There is not a right answer, a wrong answer. It's understanding what the different choices mean. So I know we've gone over this a lot, especially since we just finished a big focus on the Design Your Jeep Build program. And we went through all sorts of wheel tire options. But something I want you to think about as well. Your choice in tires is your choice in tires. And I want you to love them and love what you have. So understanding that there are different types of tires and they're not all right for everyone. I'll share with you, we had both of our Jeeps at the booth with us. So this big Jeep here is on a Maxxis sticky compound competition tire. That means it's a sticky, pliable compound. It will not hold up to driving on the road and on asphalt. It is meant specifically to be out there on the trail, especially for rock crawling. That is not a tire I would recommend to anyone unless you have a purpose-built trail rig and you want a sticky compound. I see people driving their Jeeps that are built with a sticky compound tire on it. And again, as long as you understand what that means, if you do a bias ply tire, which is what I have on my JKU, it does not have that belt inside of it. So again, it's soft. It is great for off-road. I use it on my daily driver, but I understand, one, I'm not going to get the lifetime miles out of these tires because that's not what they're designed for. They're going to ride a little bit rougher on the road because, again, they're a bias ply tire. So understanding what direction you're going to go for your Jeep is going to be really important to help you decide on the right tire choice. Not every, excuse me, not every all-terrain tire is created equal. Not every mud terrain tire is created equal. That's where your personal preferences start to come in. But understand, when you go to a mud terrain versus an all-terrain, you're going to get some more off-road performance, but your on-road, depending on which lug pattern you go with, is going to be a little rougher. It's going to be a little louder. So my biggest piece of advice, before you go somewhere where you're going to go shopping, where there's going to be a lot of options, make sure to do some homework on what it is you really want for your Jeep, what direction you're going to be going with your Jeep. So you could say to somebody, hey, this is going to be 60% daily driver, 40% easy trails. This is going to be 80% daily driver, 20% easy trails. This is going to be 75% trails, maybe some harder ones, and 20% daily driver. You want to know and have that in your mind up front before you go and start making choices on what to buy and what to put on your Jeep. Because my goal, why we have ladyjeepers.com, is to bring forward education and knowledge, because I want you to build your Jeep once. What I don't want to see happen is you go and buy things, put them on your Jeep, and then you're like, oh, I wish I hadn't bought that because that doesn't work for what I want to be doing with my Jeep, or I lost some of my drivability, or things like that. I see some questions. I'm going to jump over. I have 20s with 33s. I only air down to 18 or 19. Super safe. So far, I love them, but mine are more heavy duty military type wheels. I love that. So that's the other thing too, is knowing when you do go with a wheel, what are you going to be doing with it? What is your goal? And then make sure you get the right one. So a heavy duty or bigger wheel is going to hold up a little bit better. Than some of the powder coated ones. You may scrape off powder coat, but just know up front. That is all this is about, is to educate yourself and know up front what you are planning to do with your Jeep and what you are looking for. When I bought Jazz's wheels, 2010s, I lived in Fort Myers, Florida. Never thought I would be living in Georgia and off-roading. I would definitely have gone with smaller wheels. Did fine at Windrock, but did have rock rash. Yes, it does happen. But again, be prepared and know that's the biggest thing. So when we start talking about going somewhere to shop, to look at different parts and pieces, looking at Jeeps that are built by other companies, there's lots of great questions you can ask. One, you need to know what your focus is for your Jeep before you start making purchases. And the hard part is that can change the longer you have your Jeep. But knowing like this is going to be my daily driver, or this is going to be my trail rig and play toy, or it's going to be a combination, that is so important to ensure that you're going to make the right choices for your Jeep. Good things to ask are manufacturing questions. Are they made in house? Um, what kind of material are they made with? What thickness? So that you know as you go to buy things that they're going to hold up. Know what kind of warranty they have on it. What kind of testing have they done? Those are all the great questions to ask before you jump in and just go ahead and start getting things to put on your Jeep. Let's see, Michelle, I'm in the Bead Lock or regular wheel dilemma, 50-50 daily trails. Michelle, I will share with you honest opinion here. I went with a DOT approved bead lock on my JKU daily driver because she is probably, let's really be honest here, at this point, she is probably on the trails more than she is on the road, just because I don't drive a lot, but she is my daily driver. But so I went with a Hutchinson bead lock. So it is DOT approved. It is street legal. They're a little more expensive, but I will tell you, I am absolutely over the moon. Love that decision because it doesn't affect my on-road driving at all. And when I'm off-road, it allows me to air down. I did the double bead lock, so I can air down to about 5 PSI when I'm out there on the trail, and significant difference for the off-road capability, and it did not negatively impact my on-road. My suggestion with bead lock wheels, make sure they are DOT approved, street legal. My Raceline bead locks on this Jeep, my big YJ behind us, are not DOT approved and are not street legal. Now, when is that going to matter? Again, you're going to hear people say, oh, it doesn't matter if they're street legal, you'll be fine. So the time it matters is if you get into an accident and you do not have DOT street legal bead locks and you get into an accident, that can change who's at fault, insurance, things like that, because they're not straight legal. So, like I said, I'm a firm believer. I love my bead locks. Did not change on-road driving at all, but drastically increased the off-road drivability. For me, it was worth the investment because it did make that big difference for me. Personal preference again. I recommend bead locks when you get to the point you're going to be moving up to harder trails. You need to be able to air down to a lower PSI because you need that added traction, that added grip to lessen the chance of cutting a sidewall. And it helps to improve your ride quality inside the vehicle as well. So if it's your daily driver, bead locks, and you're doing some easy trails, bead locks are not a necessity. But once you start to, start moving up on the trails, they get harder. That is where you're going to be like, I really need some bead locks so that I can air down. Kendra, great question. She asked, explain bead locks not being street legal. Okay, so basically, the reason that they were not street legal for a long time was because they do not use air to keep the wheel to the tire. They have the ring, and they call them the beads that lock the ring around the tire to hold it. In a high impact accident, the reason they were not street legal in a high impact accident, um, there were two reasons. One, that wheel and tire would not break loose. So, sometimes if you're in an accident, something happens, the tire gets cut, or it's a hard impact and the tire will come off. So it'll lessen the damage to the vehicle that's being hit. That's not always the case with the bead locks. The real reason that they were not street legal was because of the fear that if there was a high impact accident, because there's the ring and it has the beads in there, if something happened, those beads could then, as things broke and that ring broke, all of a sudden you would have multiples. Basically, they're like a stud, flying loose that could become dangerous in a projectile. So that is why they were not street legal. They came out with DOT approved street legal bead locks. Hutchinson, like for the double bead locks, they don't use the same rings. It's an interior, like you'll see some of the new bead locks have an interior like a belly that they use. Kind of looks like a big inflatable mattress type thing. So it's a little different. So make sure that it is DOT approved if you go with the bead locks. Oh, Michelle Hutchinson is what I'm looking at. Thanks to the discussion with Chad. Definitely need to ditch those 20s for when I want to progress in the future. Michelle, great choice. I love my Hutchinsons. They have held up to a lot of abuse. I have not had any issues, knock on wood, with losing the bead or the seal or anything like that, or any issues with the actual beads themselves in the bead lock. So I highly recommend the Hutchinson. They're a little pricier, but I have to tell you, I have been extremely pleased with those Hutchinsons. Would you want bead locks in Jasper? It would all depend on where you're going. That is the hard part. Terrain helps to dictate when you really want to go to bead locks, terrain and the difficulty level. And sometimes it's just if you want to be able to air down as low as possible for your ride quality as well. So really, when we start talking bead locks, all it's going to do is allow you to air the air pressure down to a much lower PSI in the tire than a traditional wheel without the risk of actually losing the wheel and the tire. You don't want to air down a traditional wheel too much because the air is what keeps the wheel and tire together. So it can actually come apart and then you have to reseat it. With the bead lock, because it has a ring and beads that are holding that tire on, or the belly in the center, it doesn't rely on the air itself. So you can air down to a much lower PSI. Much lower PSI comes into effect and is beneficial. Again, when trails start getting harder, you want more traction. You want more grip from the tire because you get more flat surface to whatever obstacle with the lesser air. Or if you get, again, you want a amazing ride quality, if there's a reasoning for that too. So those are kind of the reasons as well. Hello, Angela from Oklahoma. I'm so glad that you got to catch us and jump on here. So again, ladies, when I start talking about hashtag hard truth bombs, what I'm talking about is making sure that you understand, that you're educated, that, if you see like a beautifully built Jeep, understand what the purpose build behind that Jeep is before you start buying the parts and pieces for it. Another perfect example is, the sound systems. There are so many that are amazing. If you ride with your top off a lot. So down here in Georgia, my soft top comes off. I have a bikini top if it's rainy or stormy or bad weather, but I'm going to be honest, sometimes water still can get in, even with my bikini top on. Make sure that it is a waterproof or water resistant setup because you don't want to put a lot of money in, have it get rained on because you have your top off, there's a pop up storm, and it ruins everything you've put in your vehicle. So, again, just doing some research, asking some questions. That's the biggest thing is knowing what questions to ask and understanding that just because you see something on a Jeep does not mean it's the right choice for your Jeep. Kelly, I have Maxxis, RZR MTs, and 35s, 17-inch wheels. Woohoo, Kelly, I love that. I have the Maxxis RZR MTs in 37s as well. So I have two sets. I am a Maxxis girl through and through. Absolutely love them. PSI wise on a non bead lock wheel, what would your recommendations? I usually say around 15 to be safe. That is perfect. I always recommend when you're airing your tires, do not air down a traditional wheel below 15. You will see it done. People will do it. I err on the side of caution. So I always say 15 is your lowest number you want to go. You don't have to worry. You're not at a high risk for going around a corner, hitting a rock a specific way, and having that wheel and tire lose that seat and come apart. So 15, I believe, is your safe number. If you have a bigger wheel, you are not going to be able to air down quite as low because, again, you don't have as much sidewall on that tire with the bigger wheel. So that's something to keep in mind as well. I always recommend like around 18, 19 PSI, depending on how big the wheel is and how wide your tire is, how much sidewall that you have available on that tire. Looking for new tires. Do you have any recommendations? I'm a Maxxis girl. I'm going to admit it. There's some different reasoning why. I'm just going to drop some hashtag hard truth bombs all over the place. There's some big tire companies out there who have terrible customer service. That was one of the things that pushed me away from some of the tire companies and moved me towards Maxxis. Customer service, how they treat people is the most important thing to me, as well as a quality product. So I will tell you again, I'm a Maxxis girl through and through. I do like the Cooper STT Pro. Something that I really like about Maxxis, when I met with the Maxxis dealer and rep at one of the events we'd set up at, we went through and we talked a lot about the Maxxis tire and about production and testing. And what I really like about it is they went through not only testing their tires, but they tested other companies' tires. So they could tell me how the different tires performed in the different testing that they did, as well as their tires. Now, for the Maxxis, I will tell you the RZR mud terrain is pretty aggressive for a mud terrain. Off road, they are incredible. On road, I still think they're incredible. They've helped me so much with standing water on the roadways and road conditions. They're a little louder, but they're not as loud as, say, like a Pitbull mud terrain tire. Maxxis also just came out with the all-terrain version of their RZR, which I got to see in person. Again, they're a newer version they came out with, but that gives you an option for an all-terrain as well. So it's going to perform a little better on-road than the mud terrain. It's still going to give you off-road capability. If you're looking at an all-terrain tire, I do recommend the Maxxis RZR all-terrain just because it's a little more aggressive for an all-terrain tire. Love their mud terrains. Love them. So that is my suggestion. I would suggest stay away from the Treps, the Trepadors. They do make a radial version that is not a bias ply, but those are a very aggressive tire. So what I mean by that is the tread pattern, the sidewall pattern on those Treps and their Trepadors. Excuse me. We have pollen. Allergies are killing me. They're very aggressive, which means off-road, they are unbelievably fantastic. So, that option for off-road is amazing. On-road, you're not going to get the miles out of them. You have to make sure that you keep them rotated religiously, and keep them balanced. Those are kind of some big things for those Trepidors to really enjoy that tire. I will tell you, off-road, I actually enjoy that tire more than anything I have run. So looking at their mud terrains now, so creepy crawler. Yes. So, or look at their RAZR. I call them RZRs, mud terrain. They're amazing. So I have a set. I have a couple of friends that have sets and absolutely love them. Like I said, I love my Treps, like my Trepidors, love them, but they're not for everybody. So that's something to think about when you start looking. So I really do recommend the Maxxis, either the all terrain or mud terrain RZRs. Amazing. They have been tested. They have held up. So that is something to keep in mind as well. So those were kind of some things I wanted to bring forward to you. Kind of some hashtag hard truth bombs about really understanding. Sometimes when you see a beautifully built Jeep, it is not beautifully built for the purpose you are looking for your Jeep. So do keep that in mind, that you want to make sure that the setup that you are doing for you is exactly what you want and is going the direction that you want to be going with your vehicle. And again, whatever you choose and you love, that is the right answer. Just make sure that you understand what goes with that before you make the decision. So I wanted to share that. So kind of some little nuggets from Jeep Beach of some different things that came up that we learned. So I want to thank you for jumping on here. I know today was informal. Don't worry. Next week, we will be going back to a little more formal education, cup of coffee with Kristen, and some Jeep education. So make sure to mark your calendar. Every Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern, I jump on right here live with you, cover some Jeep education and a little bit of a coffee break together. If there is something you would like to see me cover, you have a question on, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can shoot me a message off of any of our social media platforms, or you can jump over to ladyjeepers.com and shoot me an email. I would love to answer any questions, concerns, or help you with anything you're working on with your Jeep. So I am just so excited that we are in the first week of May. That means summer's around the corner. We have so much coming up from Lady Jeepers. We are headed to the Outer Banks next week already. Then we are home barely, and then we head off to Moab. Then we are home, and then we are off to Pennsylvania. So much great stuff coming up. The 2023 extravaganza has been opened. It's available. Jump over to ladyjeepers.com. Go ahead, register, grab your spot if you're interested. I was shocked at how fast the spots are going for 2023. It makes me so excited. I love it. And don't forget, we still have our Roush, Pennsylvania event and our S'more, Missouri event coming up. We have spots open. If you're interested, jump over ladyjeepers.com. Any questions? Shoot me a message, shoot me an email. I would love to talk with you. If you have any questions about events, any of our programs, you want some help, you'd love to see a video on something, I love talking to you. Oh, thank you, Kendra and Cindy. I have our little one is over here helping me. I don't know if you can hear her. So have a fantastic rest of your Wednesday and an amazing Jeep end. Happy Mother's Day to any of our mothers who are watching a little early. Yes, that is Toast in the background. Also, Toasters, come here. Oh, thank you, Michelle. You are so welcome. Come here, Tati. Everybody wants to know if that's you down there barking. Yeah. She says, hello, everyone. She's gotten so big, though. Stop. She's playing. So, yes, that is Toasters. She is our Lady Jeepers mascot. She got her own Jeep. If you haven't seen it, jump over to our Facebook page. Lots of pictures of her and her new Jeep. So, thank you, ladies. Don't forget to mark your calendar. I will see you live again next Wednesday at 2 p.m. And keep an eye out. Jump over to ladyjeepers.com. Keep an eye out for upcoming events. We are going to be adding the January Florida event this week as well. And opening registration. I've already had people asking. So I love it. Thank you for being so supportive and excited about everything that we have to bring forward to you from Lady Jeepers. So, yes, she is the cutest. Oh, thank you, Cindy. She's so cute, adorable. Thank you, Cami. She's a handful. I don't know if you can hear her. My computer is now moving because she is running laps. And and my dog just got her. Oh. All right, ladies. Thank you for jumping on here, spending some time with me, talking Jeeps. I will see you next week. I hope to hear from you. Don't ever hesitate to reach out and have a fantastic Jeep end. Bye, everybody.